I didn't make the. They're just like, oh, I'm glad my kid wasn't there. You have a kid, right, or no? Oh, okay, yeah.
I teach too, so I'm
Yeah.
like, yeah, your mama didn't get mad.
Yeah. Another person with the young mama jokes. My mama is so old. When God said, "Let there be light," she flipped the switch. Boom! My mom roasted. No, she's great. She looks young. She looks younger than me. You too. Okay. Now I look very old, so she actually doesn't look that young. She looks old. I just look older. I am 100. Okay, let's get coding. Let's start with our HTML. So I was in so many meetings today. I've just been dying to talk. Okay, so we have a big box. We've got our basic HTML5 document set up. Right, title property. Who knows what a title property does? See, hum? To do what? A to-do list. Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's what I could write. But what does it do? What does the title tag do?
It gives you the. I said I'm sorry.
All right. This time from your mouth.
So basically, like you get like the time where it's gonna show that it's
On the website, yeah, right. It's actually specifically it's going to show up in the tab of the website, right? So right here where it says something, we can make it say to do app. Deja, you can get the next one, yeah? Yeah. And okay, Deja, what's the next thing I got to do when I'm starting to build this?
You gotta link it to script.
Shazam, she says we got to link it. Let's script it, right? Let's improvise it. Let's do the script. We're going to write script. And our script tag needs a source, src, and we're going to point to the file that we want to read from. So in this case, it's the relative path. So I'm going to say index.js. The other day I saw somebody copy their full path to the file. If you copy the full path to the file, when other people download it, it won't work. It might work for your computer, because it will be like /C4Q/Corey Ladovsky/desktop. But when you go to run it, your computer won't have a C4Q/Corey Ladovsky/desktop. So we just want to do the relative path so it knows where to find it relative to the file that we're on. Okay. After we've linked it, what's the next thing to test? If it's actually linked. So I made this mistake today with the 5 and 10-year-olds and panicked because nothing was working and I had no idea why. And like when you're in front of 100 5-year-olds, every second is about 10 minutes for them. So it was definitely they were starting to freak. You could see the teachers like it's like yeah. Sam shouted it from the top, though. Through the mind. So we got hello, and so we know that that's working. Okay, so let's add some stuff to our HTML. What do we need? So we need an input box, and and what else? And a button, right? So, okay, so let's say I write input. Type. It's going to be text, yeah? Remember, some of us might not have caught this on our Twitters. If you want it to come out as dots, like for a password, that is type password, right? So be aware that that does exist. It's not gonna. I don't need to pass it a value or anything at the moment. And I heard we need a button, so I'm gonna say button, and inside my button, I'm just gonna write to do. Anything else that I might need? Maria. Why? Okay. Yeah, right. We could put it in a form to like do stuff. Which I totally agree. Doing stuff is great. Can anyone give me a more specific reason why we want to put it in a form? Con.
If you have an input inside the form, you can grab the info value, you can grab the stuff.
I can grab the stuff with the input value, maybe, to feed.
Because when the time comes to look for a listener, you're going to look for submit. So that's when the form will be necessary.
Okay, so Rafid says we can listen for a submit. And what's the benefit to listening to a submit versus just a click?
Because if there's actual data being sent somewhere, so you could save it.
Sorta. Well, we could still save with click. Fowler?
Then you can reset after submission.
So I could reset after submission. I could still actually do that with a click as well. Isaiah?
Press answer.
Boom! Right? That's the one. Because how many times have you filled out a form and hit enter? Right? That is why you want to listen for submit. Submit is going to listen for a click and it's going to listen for enter. Otherwise, we don't have a good way of listening for enter. Okay, so we're going to wrap this in a form because our user expects to be able to hit submit. And if the user expects it, we have to deliver. Otherwise, the user's not going to like the website. So let's go ahead and make a little form. I'm not going to put in an action. By default, the action is a type of post, which I've only hinted at, haven't really gone into much depth. We've mostly been dealing with GET requests. Post requests is when you want to send a new piece of information into the doc. Okay, what else might I need on this page? Sorry, Siham? A UL? Yeah, right, we might want a UL because we're going to be making a list of things to do. So let's go ahead and make an empty UL. Bada bing, bada boom. We got one. Anything else we need? Henry? An H1? Sure, we can throw in an H1 that says what it does. H1 queries to-do list. Sure. Anything else? Yeah, Deja? LIs. Do we want to put LIs in right now, or do we want to make LIs? Yeah, so we're going to need them eventually, but we're going to make them through JavaScript. Anything else that we should hard code here up at the front? Yeah, Phil?
You put your name in the section.
Sure. Yeah, I could, right? I could make this some kind of section or div instead of just the body, right? Maybe I'll put it all in a main tag because it's like this is the main content. Sure. It's not required though, but it's not a bad idea. That's fine. Anything else? Done? Is that what you said? Yeah. Rafid says we're done. Let's move on then. So inside of here, we want to probably be able to wait for everything to load. So what's the first thing we're going to throw in there? Will.
The first thing we want to do is to create an event listener.
To what?
Which is going to have two arguments. One of them is don't come and load it, and the other one is function to the document.
To the document. Okay, so we're going to want to add our event listener to the document to listen for all of the DOM content loaded, which we did with the kids today. But they were not following along this part as well. They liked the presentation, but there was, it was really tough to talk into a microphone and code at the same time. And I did it with my shoe untied. Okay. Let's throw in a log to make sure that we spelled everything correct. Hey, boom. Things are looking on the up and up. Okay, so now that we've got this listener and everything, what's the next? What's the game plan now? Is there anyone I haven't heard from yet that wants to talk? Marvin.
We should probably grab our elements from grab our HTML elements from our JavaScript page, and then pretty much every time we submit something to the button, we create an LI.
Okay. Yeah. Which element should we grab first?
It should be our input.
Yeah. So we can go ahead. Well, sort of. Maybe. So we're gonna. He says we're gonna want to grab some elements. Maybe we don't quite know exactly which ones we need yet. And every time somebody submits something, we want to make an LI. So the question is, what element do we need to grab? J Jones. What? We got to grab the form, right? The form is where it's at. We want to submit a form. When you go to a doctor's office, you don't submit the input. You don't submit the button, right? You submit your form, right? So let's go ahead and grab that form. So we're going to say that form, and we can just say like document dot query selector, and we can go ahead and grab the form. And then what do we want to do with that form? Oh, either. What do I want to do with this form?
I guess, whatever is being put into the form. Okay.
Sure. And when do we want that to happen?
Every time you enter or click a button.
So, okay, so every time we hit enter or click a button, and so in order for us to listen to that, what do we need to add? On the form. We're going to do it on the form. You're very, very close, right? So in order to listen for those events to happen, we have to make an event listener. We want to listen to whatever specifically we want to listen for. So if we want to listen for a form submission, we have to grab our form and add the event listener of submit onto it. So form, it's correcting my spelling for me, dot add event listener, we will listen to our submit, and on the submit, do we think we'll need access to this event?
Yes.
Deja, you said yes super confidently. Why?
Because that's the but it is a change when you submit, so it will.
Okay, well, let me show you something, and maybe this will help you. So let's test out what we have so far. I write in here. I say, buy milk. Enter. Oops. What happened? Fowler?
The default behavior of a form is to refresh after submitting.
That's right. So Fowler says the default behavior when we submit the form is for it to refresh after sending its action. Ashia, how do I prevent that? Don't remember? That's okay. Nober? Nober says we got to say event.prevent default. Oh, it looks like I tried to save my document. Nober is correct, right? So if we want to stop that behavior from happening, say event.prevent default, and we have to invoke that.
So that's the only reason why I'm trying to do it, just to use prevent default.
In this scenario, that's probably all we'll need, yeah.
Wait, so when you know when to leave the event, go back and when to like touch it up?
Great question. So Maria's question is, when do we know when to pass the event in as an argument? I would say when in doubt, pass it. Because if you're confused, like if you think you might need to use that event, that's when you really need to pass it. So, if I have a listener on a UL that listens for something on an LI, like, I don't know, like a click, and we get its target, right? If we want to know where that click happened, we need the event. We need to look at that event to look at the event's target, or the event's current target. If we need to prevent a default, we need that event. If we're not using the event, then we don't really need it. But if you don't really know, you can always like put it in there, or you can always add it if you realize that you need it after the fact. Part of knowing when you'll need it will become with just experience of building. No problem. right? But for this one, since we're doing a prevent default, we definitely need it. Otherwise, it's just going to keep refreshing. Okay, so we've got this. And so let's go back to what Marvin said. Marvin said, when the form is submitted, we've got to create an LI and add that to the UL. So I believe what he said. So let's first create that LI. So we'll say let LI, and we'll say document dot create L, not what I wanted, element, and we'll say Li. Whoops. Oh my god, my hands were like shaking when I talked to the kids. I don't know what was wrong with me. I was so nervous, and they don't even have developed minds. Okay. I mean, some of them might. I don't know. I don't hang out with a lot of kids, which is a good thing because I don't have kids, so I'd be a little off if I did. Right? Okay. So this YouTube channel is for kids, though. Okay. We've got our LI. Does our LI need to have any type of information on it? The inner text of needs to be, so he says the inner text of the LI needs to be the value of the input. So what does that mean we need? How do I cook a steak? How do I cook a steak? What's the first thing I do? I gotta go buy that steak, right? Crystal says get a steak. And I agree, right? We gotta go get that input. So let's go ahead and get that now. Let's say let input, and we can say document, misspelling everything. Document.query selector, we'll just do input for now. So I should have access to my input. And let's just make sure by throwing in a debugger so we can really see what we're doing. Right? When in doubt, debugger out, right? So we're going to go to our code. We'll refresh the page so that we have the most up-to-date changes. Again, I refresh the page by Command R. I recommend you do the same. I see a lot of people go like this and then overshoot. There we go. Right? They all dance around. Command R every time. Left hand. Whoop. Okay, so then let's go ahead and add buy milk. Enter. No, there's quite a few people. That's why I said it. Okay, it's not directed at any one person. Someone's like, "Oh, he's talking about me." Okay, we've got our console, so we can take a look at what we have available to us. Anything that's in the scope right now. So we've got this event, right? I can look at my event dot target. It's this form I could see, right? I know I grabbed the input, so I can look at that. It looks like this. Input. Input doesn't have inner text, but instead it has a value. So we have the milk, right? So that's what I'm going to use over here. So we'll go back to our code. li.inner text. Who remembers the difference between inner text and inner HTML? Remember we talked? Yeah, Calvin.
Inner text is just like pointing at actual text of what like this side of our own versus inner HTML is saying like all the tags, all the like every element inside the actual HTML.
Excellent. So Kelvin says inner text refers to just the text, right? Inner HTML refers to all of the tags, all of those elements, and will be interpreted as such. So we'll say inner text is equal to input dot value. What do we want to do with this new li? Got to append it to whom? The ul. How do I do that, Rafiq? ul dot append child li. Is that what Rafiq said? That's what. Is this going to work?
No, because you didn't select anything, so you gotta select the UL.
You mean I have to grab the element before I do something to it? Excellent idea. Let's do it. So we'll say let ul equals document dot query selector. Let's go ahead and just grab that ul and let's watch the magic. All right. We'll refresh our page. We'll say buy milk. Cool. Again. So things are working. What sucks? Danny. Input's not clearing. That sucks, right? As a user, that totally sucks. Can you imagine searching for a friend on Facebook, clicking on it, and then having to delete your friend, and then searching a new one? That would suck. So let's clear the input. So how could we clear the input? See how. Okay, so when we're submitting the form, do we actually care if it's empty or not? Is there a different outcome? Jay Jones?
You could do like input that value
Yeah, right. So we can just make it empty regardless, no matter what it is. So we can just say input that value empty string. So now let's try again. We'll refresh, get the most up-to-date changes. We'll say buy milk. Okay, I'll say clean room, do laundry, write better than Shakespeare, fix car. All right, just the regular to-do list. Feller's like, yeah.
So I did a reset. Is there a benefit one over the other?
No, not that I know of. Feller says he did it. He cleared the form through a different way with a reset. That's cool too. So, do we need to add delete buttons, or can we just click? What was the exact instructions? Let's see. It said bonus add a delete button with each item. Okay. All right, let's do that. So what do we need to do differently?
Create an item,
We got to create an element. What kind of element?
button.
Okay, let's do that. We'll say let button, or let's just say btn is equal to document dot create element, and we'll say button. Should the button have any text inside of it? I don't know if the button needs a value. An X. Okay. The word delete. btn dot inner text. Let's make it an X though. I think that's kind of cool. And what else do we need to do? Armin? Yeah, we might need to add an event listener to the button. Right now, it's not showing up on the screen though. I got to append it to whom? To the form.
No, each ally.
To each li. To each li? Okay, let's do it. So we'll say li dot append child, and let's go ahead and append our button. Let's see what happens. We'll refresh the page. Right. Make friend. Eat alone. Right. And when we click on a button, nothing is currently happening, but we do have this cool little X button. So we're getting there, yeah? So now it becomes a, yeah, I guess we'll need to add and something else now, yeah? What do we need to add? We need a listener to the button. Okay. Right. So I could do this. I mean, if I created a true to-do list, right? Maybe I would have made each one of these like so I could just click it and click on the whole thing. But since we are going with the button, I think it'll be easier if I just build the button listener inside of this as well. So let's go ahead and say button dot add event listener. And we want to listen for what this time? Right, this time we want to listen for a click. And on the click, do we care about the event? Yeah, probably not this time. Because I don't think we'll be using the event. And so when we click on that button, what do we want to happen? What needs to happen? We need to get rid of the li. And how do we do that? So we got to use remove child. And who's the parent? The UL is the parent, right? Do we have access to the UL right now? Well, let's think about this. Take a minute. Let's look at the code. Let's think about this. Do we have access to the UL? Kevin? Okay. All right, let's talk about it for 2 minutes. All right? We're going to talk about it to 8:07, and then we're going to come back. Okay, it's 8:07. What do we think? Do we have access to the UL? Yes, Kevin. He raised his hand. Go ahead and tell us what you're thinking. Okay, so you're telling me what? Beautiful. You're telling me what to write. Let's just like have a conversation a little bit about it. Do we have access to the UL? You say no right now. Why? We need to access the LI first. Okay. Not sure. Brutus.
Didn't we already hold our UL earlier inside this line date? So we do have access to it.
Okay, what makes us still have access to it even though we're in a different function?
The fact that it's outside of the scope of the primary.
Okay, so Brutus says the UL is still in our scope because this exists in the same scope space as this function. Interesting, maybe.
It's still the same loading page.
It's on the same local page.
No, loading, it's the entire event is down configurated, so as long as the loading page is there, it's gonna already have the URL tag.
Sort of. It's more of a scoping issue. Fowler?
Ditto, like Rubus said, because it's like a two-way mirror. Like it can see, in this case, it can see all the way out, but we can't see in. So the fact that it's inside, it'll see everything outside. Even if you grab the UL right as soon as you grab the form, you'd still be able to.
Okay, cool. So Bruce, Fowler says it's more of a two-way mirror kind of thing where function can see out, but not outside can't see in. That's kind of a cool way to put it. Yeah, Danny.
I don't think we have access to it.
Okay, how come?
From just what I've been looking at it just looks like where we grab the URL and it was inside. Oh no, it's so shared so that's inside of that event listener.
This button event listener is inside of this form event listener.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so Danny completely changed his mind. He talked himself into it. I love that. I absolutely love that. Okay, let's throw in a debugger and find out. Yeah. We'll refresh. We'll say get Disney plus, and we don't want that. Delete it. We're in the debugger. Let's see if we have the UL. UL says UL is not defined. I think we do have access to it though. No? Do we have access? We have access to the LI. Jay, it works for you, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Got it.
So here's the thing. I am pretty sure this is a Chrome error, a Chrome debugging error with their developer tools. But we'll know for sure if we actually just try it.
You must have access to the UL because you're adding LIs to it. It's impossible to add an LI to something you don't have access to.
Well, yeah, but I'm in this call. So the thing is a callback function is when it gets fired, it gets fired function style, right? There's three different ways to invoke a function. There's function style, where the this refers to the window. There's method style, where this refers to what the method is being called on. And then there's constructor style, where this represents an instance of the object, right? So because it's being called as a callback, it's being called function style, and this represents the window. And I think it's getting thrown off, but I think it's because it's still interpreting this as if it was in ES5 a bit, while ES6, the fat arrow, or the anonymous function here, this actually keeps the scope of which that arrow is defined in. It's a little confusing. I know I just said a bunch of things. So the arrow should allow us to keep access of this as in scope. So we should actually have access to it. And I think it's just a Chrome debugger error. So I'm going to go ahead and write what I think the answer is. But if it doesn't work, we will find a different way. So I'm going to say ul.removeChild li. And I'm going to forget about this experiment and just refresh it and try it again. So I'm going to say make friends. I'm going to say eat protein. I've made a bunch of 5 and 10-year-old friends today. So I'm going to delete that. Perfect. And I have not eaten enough protein, so I'm going to keep that. But I'm going to say eat a crummy pizza bagel. I'm gonna say get assigned extra work. Well, I definitely ate a crummy pizza bagel today. Work gave it to us. So I can cross that off, and I definitely was assigned some work. So I'm crossing that off as well. Okay, but you can see that it's working. So it's cool. So the issue was with the debugger thing there is that the Chrome DevTools still haven't perfectly adapted for ES6 syntax with this fat arrow helping us. The fat arrow keeps the scope of where it is. So it's this remains the same. So this scope is this, while if we had written this in ES5 and the callback got invoked function style, this would become the window and we would lose access of the things we've already grabbed. Okay, so I'm not going to go into the editing. I think this is enough. Any questions on any of that? Yeah, Mark. I challenge you to work on that tonight and come in tomorrow. Maybe we can go over it tomorrow. And you and I can look at it. And if there's enough of a class response, we'll go over. Shots fired. Sam said I only wear cat shirts. Broken. Any other questions? All right, cool. So today we want you to start working on your Pokemon